Hello and welcome to Donuts for Breakfast, Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation. We are Donuts for Breakfast. No, we are
Yes.
not Donuts for Breakfast, but we are at Donuts for Breakfast.
Right.
Starting this thing off on a very smooth transition. There's still no donuts.
It's okay.
My name is Trevor Henley, and I'm the inspirational activist and founder of Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation. We have the amazing, the intelligent, the professorial, not me, Raw Feesby, our operations director. We also have the amazing Dr. Michael Pritchard. Right? And today we have one of our apprentices managing and running the Zoom. Connor, wave hello. Say hello, everyone.
Connor!
He said hello. No, he's not on mic, but he was on video. We got that going.
Good.
So thank you, Connor, for being here. And kind of what I wanted to talk about today was our whole point of Donuts for Breakfast was to be able to have tough conversations, what could be conceived as tough conversations, with everybody at the table that has an equal seat at the table, regardless of race, religion, money, wealth, socioeconomic status, any of it, and just be able to have equal understanding that we all are here to learn and have real conversations and learn from each other. So today, there's 5 topics, and I can't remember the 5th at the moment, but it's politics, AI, emotional intelligence, and then it was equality over equity. Other way around. Equitable over equality. Whatever. Equity and equality.
Professor Ra will explain it.
Exactly.
Because we're neurodiverse guys who don't know those smart things.
Yeah, and then dyslexic with equality and equitable and trying to understand. Anyway, moving on. So the first one's politics.
Yes.
So, Mike, when I say politics, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Sadness, lack of leadership, tragedy, doubt, cynicism, skepticism, ruthless manipulation, and the tragedy of trying to have people pray for, beg for, need leadership, and it can't be provided because what politics has now become is so indifferent to the suffering of the masses, not by intention of some individuals in politics who are really smart and really wise and emotionally intelligent, but because the malaise we're in of the divisions and the hostilities create such aggressiveness. Like yesterday in Orlando, Florida, 2 16-year-olds shot and killed each other over a Facebook post.
Right. That wasn't where I was expecting that conversation to go with politics, but that's why we do this, right?
Said, listen here.
He said, listen here. Raw. When you hear the word politics, what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Ignorance. I'm not politically savvy. I think as I get older and I learn more about humanity and I learn more about the history of human evolution, of human thought specifically, I realize that one of the things that we have lost as a human race is our thinkers and our dreamers are not allowed to sit in the political theater like they used to be able to.
Yes.
And it's stifling.
Yeah, that was evident from the Marianne Williamson thing. They were mocking somebody who's spiritually attuned to try and helping the world harmonize. Not going to happen there.
And when I think of politics, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm out.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I realize when you think about it, one, I try and stay blissfully ignorant on whatever side you stand on. Doesn't matter. But then I also realize that there's politics in how this show is run.
Right.
Not here, but in
Everywhere.
similar shows,
Oh,
right?
all of them.
How PTAs or how like there's politics in every level of things that people call politics.
Right.
And the only way that I can summarize it is it just seems to me that it's always more about my personal agenda than about we as a people.
I
And
would,
that,
yeah,
that's what I take.
I would. The only thing that upsets me now is there's such irrational anger in all of it,
Right.
that you push it away because that aggression, the driving through a crowd of folks the other day in a protest in front of the Civic Center when they're angry because they don't want to put on masks for whatever is political.
Right.
And no matter what your opinion is, and what I have done all my life from the very beginning of these kind of politics is focus on the suffering, not the left wing, not the right wing, but the suffering wing of humanity, because that's where you get the most done.
Right.
If you can help and heal the humanity end of it all, you're alleviating the infection in societies. It's suffering,
Right.
and it's ill, and it's emotionally ill as well as physically ill. And unless we focus in on healing that, we're in big trouble, not just in America, but globally. Right. And you can see from the news on CBS this morning about Russia is losing 4,000 people a day to COVID. And the end remark of the CBS News analyst and the guy from Russia, who's a statistician, was they won't get healed because they don't believe in anything. They don't trust anyone. And that's what he said. I didn't say that.
Right.
He said that on the news. Right. A Russian statistician on CBS News. And the point is, if you believe in nothing, you'll fall for everything. Right. That's where we are right now. Right.
Or we don't know what to believe in, so we believe in anything we feel like.
Right. Well, I mean, when people are at a concert for QAnon, waiting for John F. Kennedy to manifest himself as Keith Richards.
So I'm going to just kind of put a plug in this and be like, we're going to move on.
Yeah, I get it.
Because
no, I
we're
understand.
not actually into talking about politics, but I kind of wanted to bring it up in the sense of, it is something that we could talk about. It would be really interesting to dive into politics, but then that would defeat the entire.
Well, the thing is that as members of Rotary, we have things to do.
Right.
We got threads to help the global impact. What. And, I think if we focus on polio vaccines and the ability of Rotary to do something about that, right? Yeah.
To eradicating polio from the world. Right. So, anything else on the politic arena from Merle?
No, Frank.
Right. I appreciate that. So, DEI. What the heck is DEI? If you're, again, blissfully ignorant like I am, it took me a while to realize what DEI meant, right? So it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right. Hey.
Now, what does that mean, Mike? Actually, screw you. Rob, you go first.
I want to listen to. That's okay. I want to know. I actually
that
do.
Was to screw me because I went my wrong. Meant I
don't worry.
Go this way. This
no,
time.
No. We're good.
Yeah, that was
good.
Quick,
good.
Right?
We're good.
You want me to go back to Mike? Are you still in that feeling right there?
That was good.
So diversity, equity, and inclusion. You generally hear those three words placed together in context to groups, organizations, institutions.
Right.
And usually, if DEI is being referenced, then there is some kind of acknowledgement that there is a systemic issue within those groups, institutions, or organizations, and some kind of committee, forum, seminar, instruction is being presented as a way to intensify and create diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organization or institution.
And would you say that is because there was either a hole for that, like it wasn't there, or that it may have been there but not acknowledged and brought to light on purpose? Or
I think that there have been a lot of organizations who have been forward thinking in regards to these things. I make some noises when you rub the table. I know that there have been organizations who were dedicated to that kind of instruction prior to the pandemic. I think the climate has brought the issue to the forefront, and that organizations, heads of corporations, are being held accountable for creating that kind of DEI within their organizations. But honestly, as is forward movement and progression and progressiveness in society, it always comes at the tail end of tragedy or some kind of recognition of extreme deficit that exists. I said earlier before we were on camera that the revolution will not be televised. And the truth of that statement is in that no one wants to highlight the misfortunes, the errors of humanity, particularly Americans. We are not known for our humility. Hubris is a deep rooted part of American culture, and acknowledgement that your organization is knowingly contributing to a systemic issue is a hard pill to swallow. And it's a lot easier to shine a light on the fact that you are creating DEI campaigns or creating,
Correct.
committees. And once those organizations make that move, then they're faced with the internal issue of everybody who is supposed to be benefiting from the DEI situation, everybody who is supposed to be the focal point, sitting back and watching them fail and fail and fail until somebody asks the people who are not being a part of the diversity, who are not being included, who are not receiving the equity, go, does anybody want my opinion yet?
But what does that do to their what does that do to their human heart? That lack of concern for including them, which is the last part of that. We want equity, but the problem is they point out, and this is all by degrees.
Right.
This is by degrees because we try to, and always in this country, we play a game that is so standard to political gain. Whataboutism. Whataboutism.
Yeah.
And what about you? What about you? Your hypocrisy. You're disingenuous. You're disillusioning other people by doing this. And the problem is that once you've laid that blame, everybody goes like this. I don't know about you, but I think that what I see, and especially the exasperation of children who are millennials, they go, here we go again. No, but nothing's going to get done. That's why the kid used that term. We millennials suffer from, when I said try optimistoic, and he said we live in a constant state of anticipation of all things. Yeah, anticipation. Nothing's going to work. There is no hope. And how do we build hope in that? Because everybody stands around, and if there's 17 leaders, none of them agreeing,
right.
No equity, no inclusion,
right.
No acceptance, no acknowledgement of suffering from
right.
the past, digging up the emotional archaeology of look what happened here.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a really good term, the emotional archaeology.
Well, that's what you are.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You're an emotional archaeologist. My daughter-in-law is such, and Leela. And when I watch this, your generation of young professors, and that's what she does, your generation of young professors, it's why we need you. I spoke at 2 days ago. I actually spoke at Dominican, and it was great to the mental health nursing group. And it was amazing. We brought in Reverend Jan, who's the chaplain from San Rafael Police and the FBI, and Lynn Murphy, who's on the streets working with the homeless, and she has her care dog Blue with her, and these beautiful young people that are studying how to be nursing students and help with mental health, because part of the patient globally as well needs help emotionally. If we can help them emotionally and spiritually, the body can get better. And that means globally as well. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have to address those.
Right.
And you have to talk to people about their emotions. Why it's okay to be suffering, but it's not okay to believe that that's your whole life.
Right.
100%.
Right?
Right.
You can get better, but you have to choose to start making choices that are more well and more healthy from your addictions. I found out recently when we were talking about both Bob Hope's wife and Gracie Allen from Burns and Allen had put money into building Serenity House for folks in recovery in the 50s. And I was like, wow, comedy royalty knows that there's a suffering humanity. And these are two wealthy folks who made fortunes in artistry of making people laugh. And they thought, okay, here's a good expenditure of helping people to get better emotionally and help them with their addictions and their sufferings and sorrow. This is good work. And that's what I think with every time I hear you talk, I keep going, Dominican.
Stage.
And filming film her Dominican.
Well, so going back, you said making conscious decisions, which I really like. So diverse DEI for me was like, what is DEI, right? I remember one of the first conversations we had about it. I joined a DEI committee for an organization, and I at that point I knew what DEI stood for, but I just remember it. The whole DEI thing for me is it's been a learning thing. Like, I did not know my own naivety. I did not know my own lack of knowledge. I did not know the terms to what I was doing prior to consciously thinking the words diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
Like, we had started Desire to Inspire years ago, and the idea was to really just tell stories of people helping people, no matter what platform, everything. And then I remember the first time I joined that committee, and I was like, hey, Raw, so we talked about this, and I don't see people of color. No, I see all people, right? And you were just like, dude, no, right? Your reaction right there.
But that's not what you said. You said the classic quintessential white faux pas. I don't see color.
Oh yeah,
is
right.
what you said.
I don't see color.
Okay. Yeah,
right.
Okay. All right.
Right. I don't see color. I see
means
people.
Just means you're colorblind.
Right.
Shades of gray.
Yeah, I don't see color. I see people. Right. And you were just like, no. And you explained it to me. Right.
Well, that's what makes her such a great professor. And I have learned more from you. And I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
This is not kissing up to you. I'm just telling you, I have learned more from you in the past 4 months than I've learned from all of my college professors about awakening to the inclusion, to the equity, and to the past offenses.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there and listened to your speech on when we were talking about Oklahoma. When we were talking about, I was like, more of her. Hello. Just all you have to do is make a commitment to listen to young teachers, young professors.
And the age is irrelevant.
Right.
Because
I agree.
Really, educators can be as young as 2.
Yeah.
All right. So moving from DEI to the one that I always get backwards because I'm
equity versus equality.
Yeah.
Equity versus equality is a recent struggle that has been brought to the forefront of where we're at in the U.S. and globally. It's always been kind of a gray area. I think our activists have always been pushing for acknowledgement of the difference of equality versus equity. And to clarify the difference, equality is making sure that everybody gets the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got a bin of shoes. Equality is making sure that everybody gets the same pair of shoes. Equity is making sure that everybody gets a pair of shoes that fit.
Right.
And That's a quote, by the way. I don't remember who it's from. I saw it on the Googles. But it's a very accurate assessment of the difference between equality and equity. Everybody has a right to an education, right? And we can say in the United States, that we have a public school system. Everybody has access to an education, but not everybody has access to the same level of education.
And it's public education.
Right.
Public education.
Right.
So it should be.
In theory, yeah.
It should be. Everybody who's going to public school should be getting the exact same level of education.
One of my young Marines taught that very simply. He said, Mike, he goes, I was a great track star in college. Before I joined the Marine Corps and became an officer, I would go to schools outside of where I grew up in Los Angeles by Crenshaw, and I would go to where the kids went to public education. They had so much more than us. And I kept saying to myself, how does this seem okay to the taxpayer even,
Right.
that this level of opulent splendor is given in public education, the same thing. And then he stops and he said, when I joined the Marine Corps, I knew one thing. It all started even. And I could achieve. And I became an officer in the Marine Corps. That's when I knew that the promise could be fulfilled in another way, but I had to work in leadership to teach that should apply to all ends of the United States democracy. And that's what Colin Powell constantly kept trying to point out when he was a geology major at City College in New York, went to Fort Polk, watched all the vicious, toxic racism that he had to deal with. And yet at the same time, a man of incredible destiny saved a 2-star general in a rocket attack on board a helicopter and saved his life because he was willing to risk his life and give his life to save his fellow soldier. That was rewarded when he got his 4th star and he became this leader that people started to focus in to lead. Was he always correct? No, but he had some things to teach the world, and he did in his foundation for children. He did in his life with his wife. He did in being a great dad, and he did as best I think he could because he got into politics. And the same thing happened to Ike Eisenhower. Once you enter the field of politics as a leader and you've been a soldier, it's different.
Right.
It's just completely different.
It's interesting how it's all
Yeah.
swinging back to politics, even though that was the one I kind of wanted to be least focused
Yeah.
on today.
But it's true.
It is. It really is.
There's a lot of politicking that happens
Right.
as a result of, or as part of, but that's okay. On politics.
Go.
Politics, law, and philosophy. That's a really big Venn diagram. And politics, law, and philosophy, right? Our 3 circles.
Yeah.
And in the center is concept, is thought, is hypothesis, right? The biggest influence that we have on law and politics is philosophy.
Yeah.
And it is amazing to me how philosophy has become the joke of the academic world. Like, oh, I have a degree in philosophy. I'm a ski instructor. Like conceptually speaking,
I didn't get a degree.
philosophy is the study of thought. It's the science of critical thinking.
Right.
And to the point, it's very interesting that philosophy only has credibility in law and only attains fruition in politics.
Wow.
And in a country where we are built on the foundation of drones, of cogs, of people who do as they're told and follow the rules, it's not unsurprising. It's not surprising that critical thinking, progressive thought are really the biggest threats that our leaders face.
Wow.
Because once somebody says, no, that don't make no sense to me, and I'll tell you why, and enough people believe and agree, that's when the system starts to crumble, because critical thinkers are the rebuilders.
Wow.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. I wish I had a mic for you.
Nah, that
Way to
was
make a bunch of noise.
yeah, that was profoundly brilliant.
So I think that kind of tails into our last topic, which was emotional intelligence.
Yeah, right. Yep.
The bedrock of
Right.
progression
Right.
in humanity.
Right.
Hold on. You just said that, but what? The bedrock?
The bedrock of progression of humanity.
Yeah.
Sure.
I like it.
Emotional intelligence above all else.
So what is emotional intelligence? Anyone out there? You got a response? Connor? No? Cesar
We
just
love
walked
you,
in.
Connor.
Cesar, what's emotional intelligence?
Well, making a calculated decision on actual, just reflection on the world, how you're able to respond with an actual informed decision.
That's pretty awesome. Not bad on the spot. Connor, could we hear that at all? Or no?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Good, because I don't want to try and repeat that ingenious remark right there. Mike?
Sir Kenneth Robinson on education reform, 2010 on YouTube. He passed away recently. He was a brilliant man, friend of Dr. Cole from Berkeley on emotional quotient as a better judge of intelligence, neuroplasticity, neurodiversity. We are learning right now more about the human brain thanks to President Obama's commission on studying the importance of the human brain and studying how important it was. So I was teaching what they call social emotional learning to kids, and it's the way through to get them to share their traumas, suffering, sorrows, pains that might limit their ability to learn. And then we incarcerate sometimes rather than try to resource, educate, uplift, and shift and gift. And because we're afraid if they're different thinkers and they've had trauma or addictions in their life, we somehow give up on them.
Right.
And the problem is we need restorative justice programs. We need to be able to see that the redeemed and brilliant soul, the newly educated different soul to neuroplasticity, neurodiversity, has just as much to offer in the equity as anyone. And so having taught that and getting kids up to share their pain, and prisoners in prison to get up and talk about what happened to them, the trauma in early childhood. And guess who starts crying? The guards.
Right.
Everybody says, no guards gonna cry. Guards don't cry in prison. I go,
It's connectivity.
Yeah, it's kind of,
It's connectivity. So, emotional intelligence, and I told him there was going to be a soapbox. We got 2 minutes left, and I don't give up.
good, go.
Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your own feelings and emotions, to process them, and to move through them on to the next. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize that someone else's experience, feelings, and emotions are valid and shape the way that their reality exists. And when I say that emotional intelligence is the bedrock of progression of what we can become as humans, the fact that you can sit down with a child, a small child, and tell them that you're sad as an adult. You can tell a small child that you're sad, and the first thing that a small child does is want to hug you, want to make it better, because all they recognize is pain in another human being. And an emotionally present child can recognize that they have experienced that as well and can empathize with that or sympathize with it. That is emotional intelligence, recognizing that the feelings that we feel, the way that we have been shaped by our experiences, is just as important as the words that come out of our mouth.
And systems can
100%.
squash it.
Oh,
correct?
absolutely.
Well, yeah, I was so
Kill it. Just we're reconstructing emotional. That's why it's such a buzzword right now,
Right.
because we have come from a place of emotion as weakness,
Right.
pain as something that you can wear as a badge, and it doesn't need to be
Right.
discussed. We just know that it exists, and there's no context around it. We are moving into a place where healing is paramount, and in order to heal, you have to feel all of your feelings, all of them, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that there is strength in the process of feeling those feelings. And social emotional development in children puts them light years ahead of us.
Oh yeah.
Light years ahead of us. The fact that I have a child that can come to me in the midst of a tantrum, take a deep breath and say, "Mommy, I'm angry that you won't let me play. I need to just be angry for a minute."
We're getting better.
Like,
Yeah.
that's progress.
Yeah.
That is progress. When you have the ability to articulate your reality emotionally, because we can do that.
Right.
We can do that intellectually. But when you have the ability to articulate your reality emotionally, that's where compassion comes from.
Right.
And that is where we learn compassion.
Yeah.
Wait, one thing. Look at me.
I'll do this on purpose.
Look at me. You are everything that Dr. Martin Luther King wanted.
Get back in the swing.
You are everything that Dr. Martin Luther King and many of the great leaders who are emotionally intelligent. You're everything. You fulfilled the promise through your wisdom, through your Sarah wisdom, through your kindness, through your being a great mom, through your being a great wife, through your being a great teacher and leader. I'm just honored to sometimes sit and listen to you. I guess sitting there thinking, Oprah and Gail are going, yeah, 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 that. So, but that's the point. And you know, and if you're not Oprah and Gail fans, okay. All right. But what I'm saying is think about what's happening out there, folks. We have to come to things with hearted responses. Hearted responses.
And I think also just going back to sharing, like, that you are going through suffering. The sooner we can teach our kids to do that, the sooner we can teach our adults to do that.
Yep.
I was just giving a presentation to a bunch of high school kids and other career people, and you know, I told my story of growing up in 5th grade and issues in life and being bullied and laying at the bottom pile and laughing, and they're like, "What would you say now to your 5th grade self then?" Wow. I would say that I'm not alone. I was just the one that would act out the most about how I felt.
Mhm.
And so then I was punished for that by my peers.
Right. Yeah.
But after that, all the other kids that were feeling the same way I was feeling came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, you're not alone. Like, I'm feeling the same thing. I'm getting bullied. I'm doing this or whatever." Right. And it just created that bond, because it was knowing that we aren't alone.
Right.
Going back to all of it, right? Politics, DEI,
Emotional intelligence,
equity, and equitable. I just can't get that one.
Emotional intelligence,
And then emotional intelligence. They all tie together
They
to
do all tie
basically
together.
that we are all one. We are all
Yes.
in this together.
We all
And
have
look
the
at-
ability to get to the same place.
Right.
If we help each
Right.
other, if we step forward and then put a hand back, as opposed to stepping on somebody else's shoulders to get ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're the engineer and you are the conductor on a train that's heading to the future.
Hey.
Just a passenger, as always.
Well,
But
no,
I'm
I
smart.
think you're more of the steam that fills.
He
Full
just
of
said
all
you were
that
full of
amazing
hot
air
air.
and words of wisdom. So thank you very much for joining us on Doughnuts for Breakfast this morning. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment, question, or your thoughts in any way. And I look forward to next week for sure.
And always be nice to the Connors of the world.
Be nice to the Connors of the world. Their peace is so important.
Mhm.
Be nice to the Cesars of the world who are just forever chill.
Dude.
Be in their
Surfer.
space, but don't steal their joy.
Right?
That's great.
All right, have a wonderful day, everyone. Remember, be people helping people. Share some compliments, share your story, and go out there and smile. See what happens if you smile today.